On October 4th, 2023 at approximately 11:20 a.m. Pacific Time, the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Federal Communications Commission conducted a nationwide test of the wireless alert system. The message that everybody received lasted for 1 minute with loud noises and typical noises. It read, "This is a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. No action is needed." Everyone in the United States got that exact same message. Well, everyone except me. I live and work in Portland on the East Coast. My line of work requires going out every morning before the sun rises and taking a boat off the coast some 30 miles to catch as much halibut as my nets could handle. It's a simple job. Only me and my best mate Ronnie handle the small boat together, and the day began just like any other. When we first heard the alerts on our phones, neither of us paid very much attention, to be honest. We get random government alerts all the time and didn't think this to be special. Then off in the distance toward the shore, both of us saw the strangest orange glow cascade over the horizon. We stopped what we were doing and watched in confusion as the glow got a bit bigger, and then we heard this strange buzzing noise, like the sound of a jet flying overhead. That's how I would describe it. Eventually, the light faded and the water was quiet again, and Ronnie gave me a weird look. It was then I took out my phone from my pocket to read what the alert had to say. "Emergency level orange in your area. Seek shelter immediately. This is not a test." I asked Ronnie if he got it, but he claimed that his phone wasn't working. He showed me the dead screen, and then I showed him what mine had to say. I tried to call my wife to see if she could figure out what was happening. Maybe there was something on the news. But the call didn't go through. Just more dead air. I sat there a bit, thinking about what to do, and decided to try to call emergency services. If something was going down on the mainland, they would know. Ronnie began to steer the boat a little toward shore. Now we shouldn't get too far just in case that thing is for real. As I tried in vain to get 911 on the phone, I couldn't help but notice a strange red oil was spreading around the boat. It wasn't blood, but it had a similar color and it smelled like acid. At the same time, our fish began to go belly up, dying from whatever was in the water. Others out on the main ocean were also frothing to the surface. Soon, as far as we could see on the open water, there were hundreds of dead fish. "This can't be good," Ronnie said nervously. Let's get back to land and try to make a phone call," I said, pointing to the closest shore. It didn't look like there was any road nearby, but I didn't feel safe on the water anymore. We pushed our engine probably more than it was capable of, the smell of death and decay lingering in the air as we made it to the rocky shore. "Something's burning," Ronnie said as we found a small bent tree to tie the boat down. "Look over there," I said, pointing to an access road not 500 feet away. There were 2 cars smashed against one another, both of them on fire. And we ran toward the accident to see if there were any survivors. As we got closer, I heard the strangest noise over our heads. I looked up in the clouds to see several fighter jets streaking past and headed to the South Bay. "Jesus, those look like they came out of Loring," Ronnie shouted over the hum of their engines. "Loring? It can't be. That place shut down about 30 years ago," I said as I got to the first car. There was little left to salvage. I could tell that the woman driving had smashed her skull against the windshield and bled out on the dash, but something was off about her skin tone. It looked like she had gangrene all across her neck and the upper left side of her face. "I think this one is alive," Ronnie shouted as he struggled to get the car door open to the second car. An air raid siren blared as we heard more explosions off in the distance. This time it shook the ground and we saw what looked like an atomic cloud burst over the horizon. "What the heck is happening out there?" I asked aloud as I helped him get the door open. The man was gasping for air and clawing his way out to the green grass. It looked like most of his throat and chest had burned off, leaving only a smoldering husk that he somehow was breathing through. The man looked up at us and I saw that half of his face was also eaten away by the same gangrene. And then he lunged toward Ronnie, screaming like a wild chimpanzee and bit down hard on my friend's face. "My God," I shouted as I jumped back and searched for anything to stop the onslaught. The man that we had tried to rescue was attacking him with his nails and teeth, shrieking and growling as I used a piece of pipe to break them apart. Pulling Ronnie away, I saw my friend had a gash across his neck and face, and he was bleeding profusely. "We need to get back to the boat," I told him as I put him over my shoulder and started hopping toward the shore. The deranged, half-bird man was following us, acting like some kind of apocalyptic zombie, and shrieking as we gained a lead away from him. Once on the boat, I quickly untied us, grabbed my old harpoon gun and aimed for the man. As he tried to climb aboard, I shot him through the heart. He flailed backwards, blood spewing out as we shoved off the coast. Ronnie was reaching for the radio, calling for any passing ships to help us. "Our country must be under attack. This is Red Dawn. No, this is worse," he said as he settled on the floor of the boat, struggling to stay awake. I told him to rest as I revved the engine and moved up the coast. My goal was to make it back to the main Portland harbor. About 20 minutes later, I observed the eerie destruction on the east side of the coastal highway. Rows and rows of cars smashed together or people tearing each other limb from limb. Ronnie grunted and asked if we were back to home yet. "All lines of communication are still dead, mate. We're alone out here." I paused as I finished talking and noticed another boat approaching in front of us. For some reason, it looked just like ours. I slowed the engine down and tried to flash our beams to get their attention. They pulled up alongside. I kept my flare gun steady and stood over Ronnie, watching as a figure stepped out of the cabin. The figure wore my face, except with angry and dark eyes. The doppelganger jumped on the boat so quickly that I didn't have time to react. They had their own flare gun, pushing mine out of my hand before I could react, and pushing me down until they aimed the flare at Ronnie and shot him through the heart. The more battle-hardened doppelganger gave me a cold stare and said, "You'll thank me for that. The virus won't get to your world now." He kicked Ronnie's body over the edge of the boat and I struggled to grab his feet, but my friend sank into the depths before I had a chance to stop the descent. I tried to fight the doppelganger next, but somehow every move I made was anticipated. The best that I was able to do was rip a part of his shirt off. Eventually, he twisted my wrist so far that it got bruised and kicked me into the cabin. "Stay in here until you see the glow again," he ordered as he barricaded the door. I tried the port window to climb out, but my body was too big to squeeze through as the stranger disappeared on the other boat. Soon I was alone on the water again, listening to the sound of gunfire and alarms as I drifted. About 10 minutes later, as I tried again to push the door open, I saw that same eerie glow cascade over top the boat. Everything shook and then I heard the sound of birds again. Trying the door another time, I was surprised to find that the barricade was gone, as well as any evidence of the doppelganger. I looked out across the water and saw a blue pristine ocean still teeming with fish. My radio crackled to life and I was told that I was approaching the harbor. I hurried to shore, trying to make sense of the past hour. When I was docked, I checked the local news reports and even global media for any record of what I had just witnessed. There was nothing. As far as everybody was concerned, the emergency alert was only a test. I reported Ronnie missing from the boat to the lifeguard and used the only plausible scenario that I could provide. Our radio was out and he fell overboard during a strong wave. They haven't found his body yet. The only item that I still have of this strange experience is a shred of cloth that I ripped from the doppelganger. It resembles the shirt that I was wearing that day.